Okay, this is part two of this guy that tries to debunk my debunk on a video that was trying to indicate that North Africa was all blacks, are at least majority, or the way that it is now, even somehow in ancient times versus reality of the way that it went. And hopefully, if you watch the first part, I know it took all the way to the end before I showed the things, but this guy's got to be rethinking his whole diorama on the way that he thinks that North Africa could have possibly been populated in ancient times by now. But we're going to continue with this idiocy and finish this off in a two-parter, it looks like. And he says he's got a part two coming, so it's going to keep go. I'm going to word for word tear this dude's ass up. Let's continue.
They have different DNA in their blood. They have G1, which is a different haplogroup from the one that is in Europe. The same.
Yeah, that's Arabs, and I keep saying the word Caucasian, and he keeps trying to act like they're not white, and that makes him right. And I actually told you they're Caucasians. They're not Negroids. And so he's affirming what I'm saying, and then trying to say that I'm trying to say that Nordics are in the area. And I said, no, I say Caucasians. This happens millions of times on my video. Well, no, this happens lots of times on my videos where we get on and then black people go da 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 da, and I go, no, they were Caucasians. They go, they weren't white, and I go, no, they were Caucasians. They weren't white. They weren't Negroids. West African primitives didn't know Egypt existed and aren't in the Bible either. And then they go crazy mad when they realize the truth factor of what it is and that they can't do anything. And then some people just get stupid and start trolling. And some people say, well, it wasn't West African primitives, so they should quit talking about it entirely because it makes them look foolish. But that some black people somewhere did, and then I run that one into the ground too. For I've done it all the way through it, and I showed you just a minute ago blue-eyed Egyptians and all this from the very first dynasties, and that's the only hope they have. And even this guy admits it could have only been in the Upper Nile area in the south that was going on, and it wasn't going on either. In fact, they definitely kept the Nubians away and weren't real happy with them at all. There was a decree they couldn't even come in. The Simna stele of Sensuret III, where he has two of them at 8th year and 16th year or whatever, he describes and tells you that he pushes his boundary past anybody, and black people are not even allowed into Egypt by decree. They can come to Icon and give trading, but that's it. So when you see them on the wall giving stuff and all that, that happened up in Icon. They weren't coming up and seeing any king or anything. Most people didn't. But there were a lot of people that did. And when you look at those Libyans and how pale they are and stuff, what are you trying to talk about? For that's in North Africa, and you go a little west and keep walking west. What makes you all of a sudden put some Negroids there in ancient times?
Team goes for their maternal DNA, the mitochondrial DNA. That is very different from the ones of whites, of European whites.
Yes, I agree.
I'll show you that he's a liar. But you see all these hands sticking up? What's strange about this is what you see is one man's black hands in the back of a bunch of Caucasian hands. And if we were to stand at the edge of the Mediterranean and look down through Africa, that's what you would see. It would have been about like this, where, yeah, all of North Africa is Caucasians. And then,
yep, and it would have been about like this, that all of Africa's Caucasians, and you see that one lump in the back, and who's that? That's some Fulani in the one area going out and grabbing Central and even unto the West African primitives that are there. And different groups are helping capture and sell and end up being pretty much their own people. But if you look deeply into the Fulani, they're highly admixed. And it seems like they were originally very Arabic admixed and turned Muslim and turned them against their own people pretty much. It's its own video and everything. And what's funny is Radio 1 claimed to be from Fulani backstory. So it's he was enslaving his own people. It's just hilarious. But I've got this whole debunk on Radio 1 where he talked to Weibo and everything and how he made a fool of himself. And it's going to be like a 6-parter and stuff. And I don't know. I think it's going to be in part 4 or 5 that he actually goes and says that. He's just in 3, he's talking about how Egypt didn't change at all until the 26th dynasty. So then all I have to do is show those blue-eyed and all the people that go before that and everything and go, okay, well, where are the Negroids? And you said they didn't change, so yeah, there you go. But that's another debunk, and let's see what he's got, man. Does he got anything worth talking about?
Way down in South Africa.
No, I'm sorry. North Africans are not Caucasians, no matter how much you insist, but they are not Caucasians.
Not now. And you keep twisting this and trying to turn it around like you're telling the truth about something, and I'm not saying now. I'm talking about 3000 BC, what the hell was going on in this area, up until much more recent than that times, to where it doesn't matter whenever we're talking about the time. I am talking about in Carthaginians and Lotophagy and everybody around there. And don't try to pull off the Ethiopian crap. We've already debunked that and say where they are. And don't say, and that map shows you in the Caucasus Mountains, Ethiopian. So don't tell me, oh, well, Negroes are, no. That's the Greeks made up that word. I know Abyssinia is named that now, but that has nothing to do with it either. The Horn of Africa, it says Caucasians, and it used to be. I showed you Caucasian Egyptians. When they first got there, they had a colony that was in the land of Punt, which is apparently in that area. And they use red ochre symbology for males, and females are pale. Just like in Greek art, Mitanni, Minoan, all these guys in that area. They're all hooked up. And they speak a cuneiform writing and an Afro-Asiatic languages that hooks up with North African Caucasian languages and Asia. And their genetics show they go in Asia and the Levant and up into Europe. Oh, hating it.
They are native North Africans.
That's
Yep,
the way it was a long time ago.
Native North Africans. Yeah, Caucasians.
He's going to verify that as he talks and lie at the same time. Believe it's a great thing. All he
This
has to
dude
do is
doesn't have a
say
clue.
smile.
I don't think he studied.
It's like that other guy I did the video of where he just talks real calm and smiles, and then, oh, you can't refute that because he's not hopping up and down and being a racist. No, you can just smile and say lies all the time.
That's hometown history, the home team history. The one that just smiles and goes, and I quote, and then he turns around and tries to tell you they're black people. I just did one that's devastating where he had to admit that Ethiopians are these white people all over these jugs in Rome and stuff. And one of them even looks like Jesus, an angel, and he still tries to say, even though they are white and Caucasian hair and everything, he called them, now he didn't even call them Ethiopians, he tried to call them sub-Saharan Africans. Oh yeah, so it's amazing what these people just smile and they go, man, he didn't lie, and you're like, you don't have a clue.
Makes blacks believe it a lot easier, especially whenever he does these little videos like that. So let's get
I don't know what he said here, but yeah, it doesn't have a sense. You know how Neptunes Lagoon is, so expect it.
He tries to say he didn't understand that, so therefore I didn't make sense. But I think I just made sense before I let him talk. But also, whenever I say those words, it makes sense to people who've seen my recent videos like hell, doesn't it, guys? For I've just talked about all this stuff and he has no clue about it and acts like he's all brand new and doesn't know what he's up against, that he should watch these other videos and then try to pick one and see if he can find something I say wrong and say that discounts the whole sham. For there's no sham to it. The sham is trying to say the way they are now is the way they were then, and that's not at all in truth and reality.
It's a lot in this video.
People from North Africa are black. The short and sweet answer is some of them are and some of them aren't.
Yes, that's exactly the response you can give for North Africans today. They are
Today, I'm not talking about today. It says are North Africans white and everything. I start the video out explaining, well, it's not white, but Caucasians, which you would call that because people cause white certain things, and that's not what we're talking about. So let's get our nomenclature correct. But they're Caucasians, and so therefore by default not Negroids. And this now is not the way that it was then, and I proceed to prove it. But I just wonder how many videos he's going to do. I only did a part 1 and 2 of it. One of them is 45 minutes, the other is like 20 something.
not completely Negro, but they are not Caucasian either.
So he just said they're admixed, and the Negroes aren't even completely Negro, and that's right too. They all have a lot of admix, and 7 Phoenician 7's been showing the percentages and what people found and how they're finding a lot of Caucasian admix back through them and haplogroups, Y DNA and things and markers, and it shows you this weird effect where some people came in elder times and brought those people to a different state, and it's why East African Negroids really look very Caucasoid, because they have a lot of admix. Like the Ethiopians that we try to talk about today are 40 to 50% Caucasian admix, and there are some people living there that are, you would look at them and you would say, that's Caucasian. She might have a little admix. There's a lot of those too that people don't even think about, and especially my generation, what they think about is black people with pot bellies begging for food, because when I was a kid they were always, could you please send a few dollars and help this starving person, and billions have been sent to Africa and everything, and there's a lot of things we could talk about with that really doesn't go with just debunking this guy's idiocy, but it shows you the dependence of one primitive group versus Caucasian spacemen now, and I said Caucasian, and I do, and people that watch my videos know how harshly I'm on that word, for I don't want to say white people, for that in a modern day would make people think that I'm only talking about Nordics or something, or people in England or Ireland, and in reality Caucasians used to be all through the Mediterranean, all up through Egypt and stuff, and the people with his accent are fairly new to the game if we go back as far as I usually talk about. And he doesn't have any clue what era I'm talking about, and he keeps talking about now. Let's continue.
There are some Caucasians anyway in the north of Africa, but it's probably from the Barbary slave trade or the Bandar conquest.
Yeah, they try to blame it on that type of stuff whenever he damn well ought to know about the Barbary slave trade and everything that happened there. But that's not where those Caucasians came from, for a lot of them were taken from there. Yeah, and everything, and there was raids on Spain and stuff, and they always try to say, oh, we did Europe and da-da-da. Spain is not Europe, and West African primitives aren't Egyptians. Let's continue.
Or some Roman migrations, who knows?
Say, actually, wait, North Africans are Arabs, but when we're speaking on black...
Hold on, he said, who knows? And so it shows that he doesn't know, but he's trying to critique somebody who has a damn good idea of what does happen and does kind of know. And I can't see that why he would even put himself in this position. He just likes to yap. He's trying to get more viewers off of Negroids, I guess. He wants to be Negrocentric, but he said he wasn't when he first started out.
Or white. We're talking about races. Arabic, however, is not a race. It's a culture. You have an Arabic language, Arabic food, Arabic music, Arabic clothing, and Arabic tradition.
Yes,
and as I always say,
everything Black Angel is, everybody else Angel is saying here, it's absolutely true. Arab is the culture, but it's also very different from European whites.
Yeah, it's culture and traditions and everything, and it goes with it and everything, but Muhammad was a redhead, and oh, doesn't that sting whenever you find out the reality of it. Yeah, there's, even his beard is still kept to this day in pieces, and people still put henna, like he did, to dye his hair back to the color of his youth, as they say, and everything. And where did Arabic people get those horses from, those Arabian stallions? For it was the Scythians and those Proto-Indo-Europeans that brought horses to humanity. Yeah, to India and through the Hyksos into Egypt and North Africa, along with the grain and cattle and things like that, all came from there. They can track it genetically to those places, and that is pretty devastating too when you realize farming came to North Africa in one of those back migrations of those amazing Caucasian.
A different mitochondrial DNA, they have a different Y DNA, so they are not white. They can not can be considered European.
He tried to say Caucasian. They're not going to be considered European, and he shows that he tries to make that disconnect all the time and try to say that I'm saying Europeans, and I'm not saying Europeans, but they have connections. Yeah, look at Natufian studies and things like that. Hey, look at the Green Sahara back when it was green and what they found. Yeah, I made one called Green Sahara Project and Gobero, and another one called Mermaids of the Sahara. And 7 Phoenician 7 took the genetic study directly out of it and shows it too. And there's Caucasians right there. So when the Sahara was green, that was all Caucasians too. And there's a Hofmeyr site down in the Cape that's actually, let me know how that is the Hofmeyr site in the Cape is 40,000 BC, and it shows Caucasians too. Yeah, not Caucasoid, bleeding into it. Yeah, Nectoides types that are in the Sahara too, and everything, and that hooks up to Berbers and people and stuff with the Guanches and things that hook up all along there, and Caucasians and Iberians the same, and so that's Spain, so that's Caucasians too. And isn't it amazing how they all hook up? And there's a hookup to Sardinia from North Africans, and of course, where did all the Phoenicians go? And yeah, and so you don't have a clue what you're talking about. You think I'm talking about yesterday or 100 years ago or even 1,000. And I'm talking about from its origins, what was it? Not what it is now, and trying to say that's the way it was then. That's a lie.
And whites, they are not just the same. It's very different.
Yeah, very different.
If you can eat it or speak it,
Mainly from
then it's not a
slave
race.
trade and admix they have
You
now.
are black.
Yeah, that would be a language or something like that. But now these Arabs are Caucasians. Yeah.
Yes, they are Caucasians, but they are not white, that they are not related to you. How could...
He said that 3 times like he's telling me something whenever I am the one that's telling him. And so instead of going, yeah, okay, and going on, he tries to act like he's telling somebody something. It's disgusting. He doesn't seem to be able to cognate what's being told to him and showed to him versus what's being said.
This is a geographical region. It's not a race. We say Caucasian because it's a common term used in modern time to describe whites. But of course, whites are Caucasian, but not all Caucasians are white.
Exactly. In fact, I get pretty damn cardboard colored myself, and I haven't even been out in the sun. Swear to you. Really can't anymore.
Yeah, they're Caucasians.
They are not.
Pretty much think of it as being this way whenever you just look at
Not
any
much.
people. They've got to either be a Negro, a Caucasian, an Amerindian, which would be American Indian, or an Oriental. They could even be a Denisovan, like the Fiji Islanders, or maybe the people in southern India that are real dark, which aren't related to Negro.
Okay, I think we will stop here, and yeah, we'll make a second part because it's a very long video. I guarantee you, it's a very long video. So thank you for the view, and I see you next time.
And I don't know how long he's going to take to do it. That's a 45-minute video, and he's at 4 minutes and 3 seconds. So I think that y'all would appreciate it actually if I just edit through any other ones that he makes. But I did put on there the thing, and I'm going to go ahead and upload this pretty much straight and raw. And once he gets this, and maybe he'll figure out whether or not, or what he might say in his little part 2 one, and we can go back and forth, and he can make an idiot out of himself and start agreeing with me a whole lot more, and quit saying whenever I say Caucasians, trying to say white somehow, like I didn't say the word Caucasian, and that he didn't agree. Damn, yeah, they are Caucasians. It's getting pretty stupid, but it's pretty much what you could expect. Like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy, and if he comes with anything else, there will be another one, but y'all will just see this part till he yip yips. Peace.